Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with the Lizardmen, gonna be taking on the Dark Elves. This is another sort of practice game, I guess, between myself and Reptile King, just kind of exploring some new Lizardmen builds. He wanted to try out, or see what I had, rather, Lizardmen versus Dark Elves, so let's get straight to it. We do have a High Mage here, a Salon Mage Priest with the lore of High Magic. He's got Apotheosis, Tempest, and Arcane Unforging, as well as the Blood Statuette of Spite, which is a nice direct damage, good against multiple combatants. Let's see here. Aura of Pretzels. He's also got Shield of the Old Ones and the Banishment as well. We've got a Source Scarvet to back him up. 4 units of Skink Cohort with Javelins. A Rev Crystal chilling in the back. 2 Bastiladon Solar Engines. So we've got Paul and George here, as well as Gary the Rev Crystal. Got 2 units of Chameleon Skinks, 2 units of Skink Skirmishers, and 3 Pterodon Riders with a Skink Skink Chief up in the air. That's pretty much it for my build. For Reptile King's Dark Elves here, he's got Slaanesh Harvesters, let's see here, Supreme Sorceress, Lore of Shadows up in the air. He's got a Black Art Corsairs, front line of Dread Spears as well, got some Hargoneth Executioners, more Corsairs, a couple of Shades, and a couple of Reaper Bolt Throwers as well, with some Blackguard holding up the rear. So without further ado, let's get the battle underway. And you can see, obviously, with my build, I've gone with a very, very heavy missile build. The idea here is we're going to just shoot the Dark Elves to death. So we pull up. I mean, obviously, we're taking some damage from the Reaper Bolt Throwers, which is pretty uncomfortable. The Shades are also coming forward, which would be able to do a lot of damage to the Pterodon Riders. So despite the fact I wanted to get some damage done on this Reaper Bolt Thrower, I think, okay, you know, if we can... Ooh, a little bit of friendly fire there from the Laser Lizards, but if we can catch the Supreme Sorceress out, maybe get her with a Tempest and just drag her down, it'd be very advantageous. You can see the Slaanesh Harvesters here did get that Blood Statuette of Spite, and with their low armor, they're also going to be taking a lot of damage from like these Skink Skirmishers and stuff, just getting themselves a little bit isolated here, which is definitely going to be rough. Meanwhile, the Pterodons are making a second push here. We're going to try and get in and again shut down these Reaper Bolt Throwers if possible. Some nasty fire comes from those Shades, just about routes off those Pterodon Riders, but this does mean that we can go ahead and pull the Supreme Sorceress away. I'm going to go ahead and train my Laser Lizards on the Shades, as they are a high value, low armor target, which of course the Laser Lizards don't have the best AP values in the world, but nonetheless they'll be very good at shooting at the Shades there. Not sure where that shot went off to, but since we have been able to lure the Supreme Sorceress away, we go ahead and drop a Tempest, and all the units in this pocket are just going to open fire on her. So the Laser Lizards, the Skink Blowpipes, everything just unloading into the Supreme Sorceress here, and you can see just the Javelins, the Blowpipe Darts, just the hail of arrows and missiles here does indeed take her down with the Tempest. So right off the bat, we've taken out the Dark Elf leadership, which is very advantageous. Slaanesh Harvesters do get terrified away there by the spooky dinosaurs, and the Scarvet able to drag a few down there. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and target down the Shades. Of course, they're the next priority target here, and being low armor and high value, ooh, brutal stuff. All the units I have here are going to be able to do quite well against them. The Chameleon Skinks, Skink Skirmishers, and more. And the Pterodon Riders are now coming through, finally free to take out this Reaper Bolt Thrower here. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and fly around and focus fire in just a minute. Looks like they're actually taking some pot shots at the Bleak Swords in the meantime. But yeah, once they decide to start chucking at the Bolt Thrower here, it's going to be Happy Javelin Day for the Dark Elves. And you can see finally Reptile King is going to start moving forward with the rest of his forces here. And nonetheless, we're going to be just continuing to fire away and skirmish. Now at this point, I definitely have the skirmish advantage. We've taken out most of the Shades here. One of the Reaper Bolt Throwers is just about down, and we're going to go ahead and move to the next one as soon as they're routed off. The Slon's taken some damage, as have the Solar Engines, but so far so good. Nothing we can't heal up with some Apotheosis and so on. So yeah, good stuff so far. You can see the Saurus Scarvet fighting an entire unit of Doomfire Warlocks here, the Slaanesh Harvesters, and with his anti-large and AP and just good overall stats, he is perfectly happy to just sit in this combat all day, no problem. And yeah, meanwhile the Pterodon Riders starting to finish off the second Reaper Bolt Thrower, actually just blow up one of the artillery pieces with their Javelins, which is quite impressive, all things considered. And yeah, the 2 Laser Lizards here, there's not really a lot that can respond to them at this point. Balance power is already shifted, and we haven't really even gotten into melee very substantially yet. But yeah, this is one of the counter builds that I had thought up to potentially counter The Dark Elves, I just figure they have a lot of high value, low armor stuff. They also don't necessarily have the best cav game, or maybe don't tend to necessarily bring a lot of cav in this particular matchup, so you can kind of take advantage of that by going with a very heavy skirmish build and just dragging your opponent down through sheer missiles. You can see the Shades briefly rallied here, just going to get charged by the massive Pterodon squad. You can see the Dark Elf infantry here trying to make their way forward, but just getting gunned down by endless blowpipes, just completely dragged down here. Even the Hargoneth Executioners with their very heavy armor will start to take some damage over time there. And yeah, the Laser Lizards swing and a miss there on the Blackguard, unfortunately. At this point, we're just trying to apply the blind effect on them, but we'll see. Reptile King is going to be pushing up what remains of his infantry here, and the Pterodon Riders I'm trying to use them almost like cavalry here and just chase off a bunch of these routing units over on this side. But yeah, you can see the skirmish is in full effect. We're going to go ahead and bring in the reserves in just a moment here, the Skinks and the Rev Crystal, who have more or less just been sitting in the back the whole time. Not really needing to commit too heavily to this engagement here, but yeah, you can see the Corsairs. Corsairs do have 80 armor, but they'll get dragged down over a period of time here by just the overwhelming numbers of missiles. Yeah, you can see that unit already down to less than half its men, or elves, I guess. But yeah, Rev Crystal is going to be, the Laser Lizard is going to be opening up once again on some of these units in the back here. The Slann should be okay to fight Dread Spears for just a minute. Definitely not ideal, but you can see we are bringing up the reserve Skinks here. Pterodon Riders also coming over for the final stand, so soon we'll be able to finish things off, and yeah, we'll just watch as the Slann goes ahead, and he's going to pull back here and probably look to potentially get like a banishment or something on top of these Blackguard is what I was thinking, but you can see the Pterodon Riders come down and just munch on these Blackguard Corsairs despite everything, and Laser Lizards, all that jazz, just going to be unleashing hell here, and here comes the banishment in the late game, just going to be opening up on these Blackguard. Unfortunately, I had intended to keep my Pterodons on there a little bit longer, but nonetheless, we do drop the Shield of the Old Ones to give us some magic resistance, and that banishment did end up being pretty favorable, just more or less sitting right on top of a few of these Blackguard, doing quite a lot of damage to them. So with the Blackguard just about finished off, it's pretty much GG. You can see the rest of the Dark Elf forces are routing. These Hargoneth Executioners having pretty much not got into combat whatsoever, just routing off here most ignobly, but nonetheless, it's always a good time, you know, when the Lizardmen can beat down on the Dark Elves. So, fun battle, well played to Reptile King. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. Of course, Reptile King's got a channel of his own, and surprise, surprise, he plays a lot of Lizardmen, and just overall is a nice guy, great player, so definitely check his channel out. In terms of my army here, it definitely worked out more or less as intended. You know, we would have had issues if the Dark Elves had gone with a much more heavy cavalry focused build, or not even heavy cavalry, but cavalry heavy, I guess would be a better way of putting it, because the Dark Elves really don't have a whole lot of good heavy cavalry. I mean, Cold One Knight's not bad in this matchup, certainly, and it's something you can potentially see, but yeah, if my opponent had just gone with like a lot of Doomfire Warlocks and Dark Riders, I would have definitely had some issues protecting all my ranged units, because I essentially had no sort of good infantry. I mean, the Skink cohort, they're not terrible. Certainly their javelins can do a lot of damage, but as infantry, they're not necessarily the best. And, I mean, I did have a few dinos that could have anchored things briefly, but just in general, the fact that Reptile King had a very sort of static infantry and missile-based build was definitely worked out in my favor. But yeah, like I said, a build with more Doomfire Warlocks and Dark Riders would be pretty problematic for this Lizardmen build, although that sort of build would struggle much more so, I would think, against a more traditional Lizardmen build with maybe some big dinos, or, you know, maybe some Source Warriors and stuff like that. So, you know, definitely a bit of give and take, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about this Lizardmen build. For Reptile King's Dark Elf build, again, I just had asked him, you know, hey, bring a build you've been having some issues with, in terms of Dark Elves, so this is what he elected to bring. I can definitely see how this could cause some issues for some Lizardmen players. The Shades I'm not the biggest fan of. I think you could probably cut them down for something else. Supreme Sorceress Lore of Shadow is also a nice pick. She's not amazing, but I think that maybe another Lore Magic might be a little bit better. It's hard to say, but you know, bringing flying units against the Lizardmen, definitely a risk. Although if my opponent hadn't brought a flying unit, or even if, sorry, if he had brought this Supreme Sorceress on the ground, like on a horse, instead of in the air, it would have been a lot harder for me to take her out, obviously. If you really wanted to play it safe and get all your bases covered, you would probably bring a light Slon rather than a high Slon. Now granted, the light Slon can't heal, but he does have Net of Ammontok that affects all units rather than Tempest, which just affects air units. So, you know, you could net some guys in place and just shoot them down with your overwhelming missile fire. So high Slon, or sorry, light Slon might be a little bit better, plus it gives you access to double banishment if you want it, which is certainly a lot of fun. But yeah, I do think that the light Slon might be a little bit of a safer pick. I just wanted to go with the high Slon because Tempest is I think, a pretty fun spell when you catch your opponent off guard with it, and it's, you know, I understand some people don't really like Tempest, and it's certainly not as bad now that it doesn't completely immobilize your target. It does do quite a bit of damage, so maybe they might nerf the damage just slightly, but honestly, I don't mind the spell. It's only for a handful of races, and there's really only one caster, I would say, that has it that's super competitive, and that would be Alariel. I mean, the High Slon is fun. I don't know that he's super competitive. Even like the High Mage for the High Elves, I don't know that she's super competitive either, but nonetheless, very fun battle. Well played, Reptile King. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.